Keya, I'm so glad that you said yes and that you would come and spend a little time with me because I just love the person that you are and how you show up in community and just to see all of your tremendous growth and changes and you're consciously seeking spirituality all the time. So I'm curious, what was sort of your background or your life before you got on this particular path?
Well, growing up, I went to church with my mom. It was a little inconsistent. We would find a church home and go there for a while and then find another church home. But no matter where we went, I just knew that it just did not connect with me. It didn't resonate with me. And so at age 15, when my mother stopped making me go to church, I opted to not go. And then when I got into college, I started following Oprah. And I would say I was in the church of Oprah for a while.
Me too.
As a lot of people. Whatever she said to read or do, it was kind of, I would just follow that. So that's kind of what my path was until I came to CSLDallas.
And so how long ago did you come into CSLDallas and find our community and Science of Mind? And how's your life changed? So how long has it been and what's your life been like since then?
I know it's been over 5 years.
Wow.
Because I've been at my job for over 5 years. And when I first came to CSLDallas, I was unemployed. I had moved here from Milwaukee. It's where I grew up. And after my mother had passed away, I was grieving the loss of my mom. I was having a really hard time finding a job. And I had Googled spiritual center near me, and this was the closest place. So that's how I ended up here. But when I came in, it just felt like home. And because I was unemployed, they were offering a class that just really resonated with me, which was something along the lines of how to land the perfect job or something like that. And I was like, wow, I'm unemployed and I come to this place and somebody is offering a class of how to land the perfect job. And it was a 2-part class. I took the first class. By the time the second class was, I already got a job offer. And I've been at that job over 5 years.
Wow. And what else? I know you've taken a lot of classes here. So you landed a job. What else has happened now that you're on this spiritual path and using Science of Mind principles?
I would say I am just an overall nicer person than what I used to be. I honestly can't say I was the kindest, nicest person out there. And a lot of that was to do with insecurities and this false sense of belief that somehow putting others down would make me feel better about myself. And being surrounded with people who are absolutely not going to tolerate that for one thing, but know that we can all create the life that we want. So there's just no reason to tear somebody else down because we all have the option to create a beautiful, perfect life. And I've since started tithing. And so I've had a lot of financial abundance. I mean, it started with me landing a job, but once I started tithing, my income actually increased quite a bit. And so I'm financially prosperous and secure. I've taken several classes here, foundations and exploring roots, and several prosperity classes. And yeah, it's just been a really good ride. And there is a friend of mine who I've known since I lived in Milwaukee. We used to work together, who moved to Dallas right around the same time I did.
Okay.
And just interacting with her, she's like, I can't believe, you know, this person you have become. And it's just such a blessing to see you've grown this much, because sometimes I can't see it the day to day. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm doing all the spiritual practices perfectly. But when I look back over these 5 years, I do see tremendous growth and change.
Yeah, I've gotten to witness that of you, and I've gotten to hear some really beautiful stories. I see now you have a lot of people in your life, and you get to connect with a lot of people. You bought your first home, had a big house blessing and party.
Yeah, that was just a lot of fun, and a lot of people from the community joined me in that, because, you know, growing up, we never owned, my mom never owned a home. I mean, not only did we not own a home, we had to move around quite a bit because we were evicted several times from the places that we lived. So it was, you know, bouncing around from place to place. And sometimes it was sleeping on family members' couches. There was at one point where we were staying in the basement of one of my mom's friends. And even at one point, we were staying in a homeless shelter for 2 months. So it was just really kind of tough financially growing up. And so to actually be able to buy my first home, be financially secure enough to buy my first home, was a big milestone for me.
Yeah.
And even doing this is a huge milestone for me, because there's no way I would have done this 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You mean this.
This, like talking to you in front of a camera, is a huge step for me, because I was always afraid to speak up. I would just get so nervous and like stuttering and shaking. And I mean, I would rather write a 10-page paper than do a 60-second talk. So the fact that you asked me to do this is very different and a huge change for me to be able to be comfortable in this setting.
Yeah. So what are, you know, as you know, we talk a lot about so within, so without, that everything happens on the inside first, and our thoughts are things, and, you know, it's way beyond the law of attraction and all of that here. And so if you look at the inside of Keya now, over these past 5 years, one of the phrases I know that you shared one time is like, you can give a person a fish, or you can teach them how to fish. And that's one of the main things, is that like, we want to teach people how to live their best life and to manifest and to be their highest self. Like you said, you're a kinder and nicer person, and that when our life works for us and more people have a life that works for them, then it becomes this world that works for everyone. And when your life is working more, then you have more to offer and to give to people and to share. And so if you look on the inside of Keya now, what are some of those things that like resonate now, like you would just say in this moment, like this is how Keya thinks, or how she feels, or, you know?
Yeah. So my affirmation right now, and it is definitely coming true in this moment of, for somebody called the great unpleasantness, is the universe is conspiring for my good. And I just feel that, because I bought my home at the end of last year. And one of the things I said at the end of last year is that I'm not going to go on any vacations for the next year. I just want to, you know, put some more money into savings, and I want to enjoy my home. Well, I'm definitely doing both of those things. And it's like, wow, I put it out there, and it's definitely come true, because I work in healthcare, and we got busier during this time. So my income actually increased during this time. And I know, unfortunately, that's not the same for everybody, but I am truly blessed that's the outcome of what's happened in my life.
Right.
And I just feel like everything is just falling into place perfectly.
And this is the first time you've like been out. You said yes during this pandemic where, the shelter in place has been that you actually said yes, you'd come here instead of us doing it on 2 screens.
Yeah.
And so you are spending a lot more time at home to enjoy your home.
I already worked from home, and so now it's
right.
Definitely days when I'm not leaving the house. And when I left today to come here, I'm like, do I even remember how to get there? Do I remember how to drive?
Yeah.
It's been a moment, but everything is just working out. And I'm actually, because of the online connection and things, I'm getting to know people on a deeper level through Zoom and phone calls than I wasn't before. So I'm getting to know different people in this community. And it's been, just another blessing.
I love that. I love that. So what are some of your best go-to spiritual practices or spiritual tools that you use in your life that you've learned here?
I would say the most important one is gratitude.
Okay.
I am always just looking to the good of everything in every situation, because there always is good. And I love what Dr. Petra always says, good must come of this. And so even there are times when I'm like, I'm not so sure, I can just remember that phrase, good must come of this. And it always does.
Yeah. And
so I can honestly believe that and just look for the gratitude in situations. Tithing has definitely been very important to me. It's, just 10% of whatever I get. And somehow, magically, through the law and this teaching, I always get more. And last year, when I set my tithing pledge for this year, I made it higher than what my base salary was. And I was like, oh, I can work more and make up that extra money. And at the beginning of this year at my job, they hired more people, so we had to slow down a little bit. And another thing that they did was they actually capped our salary, so none of us got any raises. I did get a bonus, which was higher than what I anticipated, but my base pay did not change. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, I made this commitment to give this much and said this is what my tithe was going to be. I'm going to go ahead and give it, even though it doesn't look like I'm going to make 10 times more than what I pledged to give. It just didn't look like the math was going to add up. And then the past few weeks, I've been working extra hours, and when I looked at how much extra I earned, it is actually 10 times more than what I pledged.
All right, Keya. So look, let's just talk straight here for a second, because I know that there's some people. You're a millennial, right? Yeah. You're young.
I'm an old millennial, but I'm still a millennial.
You're a millennial. Okay, you can claim it, don't it? Yeah. And I know what happens for a lot of people. This word tithing is actually like, oh no, like all you want is my money, right? Some church or some place or whatever. And we really take time to say, no, this is about the law of circulation, and that it's really we want your tithe to come here, and we want all people's tithe to come here, But as you know, you've taken those prosperity courses, and it's like, we want you to tithe so you can have that faith and that trust in the reciprocal action of the universe come back to you. And I know you've been like diligent. You told me, you made a decision. I'm going to tithe. So let's just shoot. So you're talking about, are we 10% gross income you're giving away?
Yeah, 10% of my gross. So that's before taxes, that's
Yep.
before insurance.
Yep.
10% is what I pledge to give.
And it's been about 2 years, right? 2 or
Yeah.
3?
No, probably like 2.
2.
Since
And how has your financial, and not just money, right? But just if you look at the scope of your life and what you receive, how has that changed since then? And I know one time you talked about even my investments are going up.
Yeah.
So how's it changed by this spiritual practice? Because this is a spiritual practice that I know the benefit of too.
Yeah. And I have to say, it took me a while to get there. I didn't just start this 5 years ago. It took me a little while to get to that point because of kind of like my upbringing of never having enough. And so when I would think about giving that much money away, it was always, can I live off of less? But through this practice of trusting and just say, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And it's okay if I live off of 90%. I'll just make it work. But my income actually went up more than what I gave away. So even with my tithing, I still am making more money. Yeah, even after all of that. And so that's just, it's just a blessing. And then I started tithing on what we call here unexpected income. So even not just the salary or bonuses I get from work, but gifts and things that I get from people. And it's just been growing. I've gotten some amazing gifts from the people here in this community, and I, sit there and calculate how much of this is, and I give 10% of that away as well, and I just keep getting more.
You keep getting more.
I just keep getting more. I'm like, I love this. This math just it's just really working for me.
I know what you mean. I love it too. I love that. Okay, well, tithing, gratitude. Is there anything else on spiritual tools?
And I would say just taking a lot of classes, because that really gets me in the mindset of doing practices on a different level. And so that also allows me to connect with different people. And get to know them and learn from them, as well as the instructors of the courses. Yeah. So, yeah, those are my go-to things, and just to add to the practices, I am not somebody who does any specific thing on a daily basis. I don't meditate daily. Like sometimes I get in a mood and I do it, sometimes I don't. I don't journal daily, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I would get really down on myself. Like, you have to do it every day, you have to do it perfectly, and all of this, and realizing, yeah, those things help, but I've been able to grow without them. So that's what I would tell people. If they can't seem to get in a habit of doing those things every day, that even doing it sometimes, or doing other spiritual practices as well, are also helpful. Yeah, there's some I don't do every day either. It's good. Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us in our time before we close out? Is there anything else you want to say, or just this is especially at here we are at such a time as this, or whatever? Yeah, I would say just keep going with it, because the day-to-day, like I said, I don't really notice that much of a change, but then looking back, I can see huge growth and huge changes. So sometimes you just have to practice forgiveness for ourselves for not doing things, quote, perfectly, and just keep going. And then the other thing I would say is that, everything happens to us as we believe it. And that's not to say that if things aren't going in my life perfectly right now, that we need to dwell on the decisions that got me there. It's being empowered that these that you can make the decisions right here, right now, to go forward in a different direction. And that's been, it's been really great for me, just knowing that I have the power, the absolute power to change my life in a different direction anytime I feel like it.
That's right. You have the power within, and it's right now, and change the direction, change the thinking. Yay, I love that. Keya, I love being with you. You're one of my favorite people to be around. So I'm so grateful that you came out of that beautiful home and decided to spend a little time with me. And I know that that you're going to touch someone's life that's listening to this, and 5 years from now, they'll be going, wow, I remember that day where Keya inspired me. So thank you for being here.
I love that. Thank you for asking me.
Okay.